So we've got a few anomalies in here. First of all, that one. What on earth does that mean? JJ9J, clearly. And then J was not a 1. We have these stones that are completely out of line with the rest of the walkway. Everything else is dead central. And then you've got these 3 slabs that look like they've just sort of been hastily put in there. We know that that altar was moved there. This altar is erected. I'm telling you, I'm thinking that this was actually over here in a small room behind this arch that is no longer there. And then the stained glass window was there. And there's your blue apple. And I think it's something to do with the sun shining down onto the altar that was there. And then if you look at the shadows here, these are the markings from the Shepherds of Arcadia picture. And then you've got an inconsistent shadow here on the Shepherds of Arcadia picture. It's there. Goes into a little point. Doesn't look right. Take that out, you end up with that. And then there is a step that the shepherdess has got her foot on. And I think that this was actually, it looked slightly different a little while back, probably 100 years ago. There's a record of this church being altered in another book. I'll talk about that some other time. On top of that, we've got this. It's E the 2nd 55. All I can find out. So set that TH is Thorn, which is an old letter that stopped being used in about the 1300s, along with AE, like Aethling, and they were sort of one letter. But the 2nd, and then that date 55. So Henry the II Plantagenet started his rule December something like 29th, and, I can't remember the year, but 54. So really 55. So I'm guessing that, even though he's supposed to be buried in France, is possibly where part of him was left. Who knows? And we've got Edward here. There was Edward Longshanks, who was Henry II's son, I think. And then Richard the was also Henry II's son. And then on the map of this place, there's a Templar cross above the altar. It is actually up on there. If there's in there, doubt it. But yeah, look at the size of these stones. See how thick they are. Imagine trying to move one of them. They've been put there on purpose so that you're never going to. And then that's been put on top of them so that you're not going to move them either. It's just impossible now. But my guess is that there's a way underneath the church, under here. Something I found out recently is that William the Conqueror was quite possibly a Templar, because every single person that he gave lands to in England after he'd conquered them at the Battle of Hastings was a Templar. So William Warren got Lewis, he was a Templar. Warren gave William de Say Hamsey, where I am, he was a Templar. De Brow's got Bramber Castle, he was a Templar. Basically, everyone in connection with William was a Templar. So it's very, very interesting, I think, now to know that the all of the French knights that came over and took lands over here at Shipley, Selborne, Bramber, here, Lewis, all over, they were all Templars. No one seems to know this. It's just really important. And then when you look at the whole Shepherds of Arcadia myth, and probably people know the myth more from the Da Vinci Code, but it originally came from the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. And it's all to do with a bishop called Saunier, who was a bishop in a place called Rennes-le-Château in France. And he found a old manuscript in a pillar to the right of the altar in his church. And it's funny because everyone's been always saying, oh, it led him to this and it led him to that, and they've all been on these massive wild goose chases since then. What they've missed, I think, is that he found it while doing repairs to the altar, and I think that directly under that altar was the rest of the treasure of Britain that the Romans took off into France. If you look at the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, year 400 and something, the Romans leave Britain, leave a portion of the treasure here, or some of the treasure of Britain, and they carry the rest off into Gaul. And I'm guessing they went to Rennes-le-Château and put the rest under the church there. The story they have is that it came directly from Solomon's Temple, which could be, who knows, and then maybe some of it was brought over here. Maybe it doesn't exist at all. But these are an incredibly strange amount of coincidences that link this place to the Templars. And what are the chances of that shadow exactly matching up with the picture on the Shepherds of Arcadia and all the Templar links here, and the fact that this is the foot of the eagle in Beowulf, and they talk about the eagle's nest in the Saunier mystery, and that's all to do with the Roman Aquila, the Roman eagle. And this is the eagle's nest, if it was this is the eagle's nest. Somewhere under here is the eagle's treasure. If any of you know of someone called Manly P. Hall, he wrote a book, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's all about occultism, the Masons, that kind of thing. In that book he talks about Rosicrucianism, and on the chapter of Rosicrucianism talks about Christian Rosencrantz and how a church was altered in the 1900s because they found something on dismantling a part of a wall. They found a way in, and in there was I'll try and find the piece, but it's slightly unbelievable, but I'm open to anything nowadays. Christian, if you can hear me, say hello. He's supposed to be sort of like preserved. He hasn't rotted a bit. Who knows? Anyway, I'm starting to feel very at home here now, and the window's back in, which is great news. Really happy about that. And more importantly, so I wrote to the people that run the church and to a couple of people who read Beowulf to different audiences, and they are now doing a reading of Beowulf on the 25th, it's either the 15th or the 25th of June, I think, in the church, and it's going to be read for anyone that's here. It's just going to be amazing, because obviously I think he died just outside, so if anyone wants to join me to see that, obviously I'll be here, and I just thought I'd let everybody know that that's happening, or else there'll be no bugger here to listen to the greatest story ever where he actually died, and obviously most of the people here won't know that either, so you can be a part of something quite special. I'm so glad that's happening on a Beowulf. Here's the actual flyer. An evening of heroes, monsters and feasting, the Anglo-Saxon poem performed in English by Michael Bloom, followed by a hog roast at Old Hamsey Church, Saturday 25th, 6 p.m. So please come along. One other thing is that apparently there are tons of wall paintings that were once in here, and they are now sort of gone. Yeah, while I'm not a big fan of the new pointing, they have done a good job. I'll take my hat off to them, and they've put the windows back, so I forgive them now. Very strange. They have done a good job, and obviously it'll keep the church going for an awful lot longer, so that's great news. It's so funny. Whenever I come here, I just get such a sense of peace, happiness. You'd think you'd get spooked out coming to graveyards, and in some they're not that great, but this one, it feels like home. It's weird. Very strange. Anyway, yeah, I do believe that under this church, somewhere out here, and I think here, see this way, there's no gravestones here, just to the side of the church, so that pathway comes through, and then there's that whole area without any gravestones in it. You've got these three little ones. I think that's because there was a building right there that came out of there, a little like annex chapel, and in that chapel the altar that's in there was there. The stained glass window shone, this is mental, the stained glass window shone the little blue apple onto the altar. And then you'd have noticed the shadow work, which would have been a bit more clear back in the day, because they moved the blocks around, I think, when they reinstated it over at the end of the church. So it doesn't look quite right, but it's still enough to be the same shadow work. It really is. Shadow work. There's a gravestone over here I haven't seen before either, because it's always been hidden by brush. I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at that. Funny, when I first came here I was so terrified because I was certain I was going to find something amazing, and I kind of knew this incredible stuff was going to slowly come to light for me, and now I come here and it's just like home. Don't know what that says, but that's a really amazing design, isn't it? Beautiful. And that one. Wow, see the way those letters have been put in with little pins. Cooksbridge Brewing. Don't know what that says. Sacred something in memory of, that's not George again, it is George. George Norman of Cooksbridge Brewery, are born June 30th 1821, died pass 1874. The Lord hath prepared his seat in heaven, and his kingdom ruleth over all. Well, good on you, George. See you on the other side.